Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, Prince Automation Destination. This is Prince. I hope you are doing well. So today we are going to continue our discussion on deserialization techniques series. And as part of today's discussion, we are going to talk about different ways of constructing POJO classes. So why it is important? So when we deal with deserialization techniques, at that point of time, we need to convert the JSON string or JSON response into Java object. So this Java object could be in the form of POJO classes or record classes. So that's why it become important to talk about different ways of constructing POJO classes. And it is one of the interview question as well. Like interviewer may ask you to create the POJO classes corresponding to the JSON response. So that's why it become important that we talk about this particular topic. So without further delay, let me jump onto the discussion. So in order to talk about the current lecture, let us quickly recap what we covered in the previous lecture. It will help understand why we need POJOs and how we can construct, right? So now let us talk about what we covered in the previous lecture. So we talked about what is deserialization. So what is deserialization? Process of converting the stream of bytes which can be available in the file or can be sent over the network into Java objects is known as deserialization. So these Java objects could be in the form of POJO classes or record, right? So if I'll talk about in terms of API automation, so when we hit a API request, we get a JSON response. Now playing with this JSON response or to validate this JSON response, if we go by the JSON path as like X path, it becomes tedious and it is tricky in real applications because JSON response is complex, right? So what we can do is we can convert this JSON response into Java object to deal it in better way, to validate it properly. So this process of converting this JSON response into Java object is known as deserialization in terms of API automation, right? So how we can do that? So for that purpose, corresponding to the JSON response, we can either construct POJO classes and then we can use record classes. So for record, I have already created a series. You can check out the same in icon. And in this series, we are going to talk about POJO, right? So we have API response, which is in JSON. So we are now going to convert that into POJO, right? But before that, we need to understand how we can create the POJO, right? So let us jump on to different ways of constructing POJOs. One way is we can manually analyze the JSON and create the POJOs. So this is the interview question as well. They will give you a JSON response and they will ask you to create the POJO classes. Now, in order to understand this particular manual analysis, let us go to the practical demonstration, right? So for that purpose, I'll be going to this particular website. So this is the sample website, which has some sample endpoint. This is related to create booking, right? So this is the base URI. This is the endpoint. So this is the entire endpoint, right? So this is a post request and it accepts the header as content type application JSON. This is the payload, right? First name, last name, total price. Inside that there is another JSON object, right? And at last, after hitting this particular request, we will get response something like this, right? So now what we are going to do is we are going to replicate this into IntelliJ that we have covered in the previous lecture. So let us quickly recap, right? So I'm using a Maven project where I'm having pom.xml and I'm using REST assured as well as this particular JSON library, right? Which we might not be using as of now, but this one is going to be used, okay? So I'm expanding SRC test and Java, and I have created one package, deserialization POJOs, and now I have created IntelliJ manual and one another way, right? Like where we'll be constructing the POJOs in different ways, right? Okay, so this is API package where I have written a create booking class, okay? So if you go to this particular website, right? So what does this particular endpoint needs? This needs header, content type application JSON, and this needs payload, right? So what I've done is I have created this particular payload on this particular location. So I'm going to show you SRC test resources and booking.json. So I created one file, booking.json, and I simply modified my name. I simply copied it from here first, right? And modified my name, first name, last name, and updated the booking dates as well, right? Then in this section, using the file object, I simply read it, right? New file and provided the location of it. Now here we have used the REST assured syntax. So REST assured follows given, when, and then. Given for construction of request, when to hit the request, and then to pass the response, right? In case you want to understand more on REST assured, I'm already covering a series which will be soon completed. You can check out the same in icon, right? So REST assured.given.base URI. So first of all, we have given this particular base URI, right? And then after we have provided content type, which is content type JSON, right? This is what we wanted to provide as per this particular request. Then we need payload. So how we can pass payload to our REST assured request using body, we can do so. Then when, because we have constructed the request, now it's time to hit it. So .when .post. So we need to provide this particular endpoint. So this is how we do provide. How do we provide? So till now we have hit the request, right? Now we need to extract the response. Okay, so then extract response. So we got it into response object. So now as part of API testing, right, we need to validate this, right? So what we are getting? So for example, we can extract first name, we can extract total price, booking dates, right? So this is one way. In this, what we are doing is we are simply converting the response into JSON path, and we are getting the individual fields. But in real time, we will have complex JSON, and it is very difficult to validate the JSON response by this particular approach. So this is where we need to construct the POJO classes, right? Okay. So now what we are going to do is we are going to talk about our first approach, that is manually analysis of JSON, right? So for that purpose, I'll be going to this particular website, right? And I'll be going to this particular response, because this is the response that we are going to get. So if you take a look at this, if you see any curly brace in a JSON, this indicates this is a JSON object. So this is one JSON object, the root JSON object. Inside this, there is another JSON object, right? And inside this, there is another JSON object, right? So we will have to construct the innermost POJO class first. This is going to be the right approach. So what we will be doing is, first of all, I'll create a POJO corresponding to this particular thing. So booking dates, right? I'm simply going to copy this particular variable and going here I have created one package manual, right? And going to right click, new Java class, and let us give it name booking dates. Okay. What does this particular thing contains? This particular thing contains check-in and checkout, which are in string. So private string check-in, right? Then we can provide the second field, private string and checkout. Make sure you are providing the correct name. It should properly match. We can provide a different name as well, that we'll be discussing during deserialization, but today we'll be simply providing apple to apple match, meaning this particular field should directly match with this particular thing. Right now, next thing what we need to do is we need to create a getter and setter. So I'm going to right click on generate and getter and setter, right? And going to click on OK. So corresponding to it, it will generate the getter and setter, right? So if you see, we have constructed this particular POJO class. Now we are going to construct this particular POJO class, right? So for this, what I'll be doing is I'll be creating a class and we'll name it like booking, right? So you can provide any relevant name. Okay. Then what we need to do, private string. So what does it contain? It contains first name, which is string. Okay. Then private, this is last name. This is also string. Next thing is integer. So we can use either primitive data type or we can use wrapper classes, right? So I'm going to use wrapper classes because total price is integer. Then this is deposit paid, which is boolean. So private boolean, right? Okay, now what does it need? It needs this particular thing, right? And where it comes from? It come from different POJO class, right? That's why we constructed the innermost POJO first, right? So private and booking date. Okay, so this is under this manual and we are simply going to provide this thing, right? So now we have constructed this particular POJO as well. Okay, sorry, we forgot this field as well. We need to provide this field as well, private and string this thing. Now we need to create getter and setter as well. So I'm simply going to right click on generate, getter and setter, and let us select all the fields and let us create getter setter. So we have constructed another POJO. So we constructed this one first, then we have constructed this one. Now we need to construct the rootmost, right? The main one. Okay, so we can give it any name. Generally you will found on the internet that people are using root, but let us give it some relevant name. This is a customer booking, so let us give it name customer booking. Okay, and what does it need? It need int booking ID because this is integer. So private integer booking ID, right? And what else need? It need private. If I come here, this needs booking POJO, right? So private booking, and let us copy this, right? Booking. Okay, and now simply right click on this and generate the getter and setter. Okay. So we are done creation of POJO. So this is how we construct the POJO based on our analysis manually, and this is how you'll be doing it during the interviews, right? So right now I've used getter setter. You can use Lombok as well, where you can provide getter and setter. So for Lombok, I'll be creating a separate series soon, right? So there you'll get to know like what is Lombok and how we can use annotations of Lombok. Okay. So this is manual way. Okay. Next thing is, there is another approach. So if I go to this particular document, so now we are going to use some tools or plugins. So this is one website that you can utilize. Okay. So I'm simply going to use JSON schema.pojo, right? Here you need to provide your JSON response. This is the package, right? How it will construct. So you need to choose source type. If you want to choose some annotation style like Jackson or something, you can provide that. If you want to use some validation annotation, that also you can provide. You can choose many options, right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm simply going to this particular website, going to copy this particular response, okay, and going to provide it into this particular section. Make sure that you are using source type as JSON because this is in JSON format, and choose the class name as well, which is going to be root. Okay. So here, let us click on chip. Right, so it is generating, so it has generated, right? So if I download it, so you will see that if I go inside this, right, com example, and you see the POJO classes. So if I go inside any one of these, so you can see that this particular booking contains first name, last name, total price, deposit paid, booking dates, additional dates, right? If you will notice, it has used map for additional properties, right? So like it will be constructing based on its analysis. So we constructed based on our analysis, right? Okay. So this is how we can construct using this particular approach, right? Now, next thing we are going to talk about is IntelliJ plugin, right? Because we mostly would be working in IntelliJ. So let us go to IntelliJ. Okay. So for that purpose, what I have done is I have created an IntelliJ package, right? But we need a plugin. Okay. So I'll be going to settings. So first of all, we need to add a plugin. Go to plugin, and here you will see somewhere POJO, right? So this is the generator that I'm going to use, right? So how we can do it, how we can generate. So we need to click on the package where we want to generate. Then after we need to click on this particular option, hamburger, go to new, and here you will see this particular plugin once it is installed. So generate POJO from JSON. Here we need to provide our JSON, right? So this is how we can provide. So we can choose various options as like they were there on the particular website. And here we can provide the root class. So customer, okay. And you will notice that under IntelliJ, this particular POJOs are created. So if I go inside here, so you can see that it has created all these things, and it has added getter and setter as well, right? So this is how we can construct with the help of IntelliJ plugin, right? Next thing is we are going to talk about this particular Maven plugin, right? Okay. So for this purpose, what I have done is I have kept it somewhere here. So this is a Maven plugin that you can utilize, right? I'll be sharing the location of it from where you can download it, right? Now we need to go to pom.xml, and inside this, after dependencies, we need to provide it under build section. So you will have build section where you can provide plugins. So this is how you need to provide the plugin. So source type is going to be JSON. So we need to provide the source type, which is JSON, right? Then what is the location of source directory? So base directory will point to the root, right? So under that, src main resources JSON. So this is the default location, src main resources, right? Inside that, what we are going to do, let us create one response, sample response, a JSON file. So booking response .js. Okay. Now what we are going to do, we are simply going to not this one, sorry. Let us go to that particular website and copy the response again and provide it here, right? Okay. So we have provided this. So this is now talking about the source directory. So source directory is this. So under this particular JSON, it will look for this. Target package is going to be Java, com, example, POJO. So you can change as per your need, and you can point to the test repository as well. Talking about the output directory, so it is going to put it under src main Java, and as under src main Java, it is going to look for this particular target package, right? And annotation style, whether we want to go by Jackson annotation style or something, that also we can provide. You can explore on this, right? Then include hash code and equals methods, because in Java, like every class has object as a parent, and these hash code and equals are method of object. So we are saying that we don't want these methods of object class, right? So we are keeping it as false. This is also object class method, so we are keeping this also as false. Now I'm going to click on Maven and going to reload this particular project so that this particular plugin will start appearing, right? So you see it is loading and showing some error. It will be loaded, right? So you see, we can see it now, right? Okay, so if you see, there is no POJO, right? If I, for example, so we can run plugin from here as well, or we can run from the terminal as well, right? So I'm going to show you both the approaches. Okay, so I have clicked on this. You will see that it will construct the POJO. So you see it has constructed the POJO classes. Okay, so this is how we can do it, right? Next thing is how we can do it through Maven command. Okay, so for that purpose also, I'm simply going to show you Maven, right? So here you can provide this particular command, mvn, this is the name of plugin, JSON schema to POJO :generate, because it comes under generate goal, right? So let me do it once again, because we have deleted the existing POJO. So let us see if we are able to generate it through Maven command. Okay, so you see these POJOs are constructed, right? So this is what I wanted to cover, like how to construct the POJO. In the next lecture, we will talk about how we can ignore a field, how we can change the name of a field, because right now what we talked about is, for example, if I go to this, we talked about this first name should match with this particular first name, right? Otherwise, it won't be able to map, right? So we talked about this, right? So in the next lecture, we will be talking about how we can change the name of it, right, in POJO, right? And then we can talk about how we can ignore some fields, because sometimes in JSON response, there are like many fields which are of no use. So we can ignore those fields as well. So these all things we are going to talk about in the next lecture as part of deserialization of the JSON response into POJO classes. So we are going to use the same POJOs in the next lecture, where we'll be talking about different techniques. So this is what I wanted to cover, guys, as part of current discussion. Thank you for watching.